Deja vu? It may seem like it since we've made the same announcement 3 times in the last 3 months, with this being number 4, but we are lowering our prices again. First, our 30-day all access went from $349 to $299. Next, the 7-day all access pass went from $119 to just $99. And just a few weeks ago, despite our popular 3-day all access pass, it went down to $59 from $69. Next up is the 90-day all access pass, which is now officially dropped down to $749 from being $849, giving you 90 days of selections from your favorite handicapper for under $6 per week. Remember, purchase wager bucks can now be used the same as cash, including on our new lowered price, 3, 7, 30, and 90-day all access packages, allowing you to save every day on every pick you buy.
What's up, guys? Nick Borrman here of WagerTalk.com with another 10 a.m. Wednesday morning tee time from Vegas. This week we are talking the Honda Classic. With me, as always, my co-host Andy Lang, here to talk another golf tournament. Andy, my friend, hopefully your week was better than mine last week at the Genesis. But how are you doing?
It wasn't that much better. I pushed on 2 bets and I was happy to do that. It's just that was a rough betting tournament. These creep up on us from time to time. It happens. It's ebbs and flows. That was a brutal one to bet on. Congratulations to everyone that backed Joaquin Niemann. That was a nice. It was nice to see him win. It's been a long time coming for someone like that. But some of these favorites. I mean, I don't know what the parlay was on for DJ and Koepka and those guys to miss the cut. But it bit us. So it was a bad tournament. It happens. And we're just going to rebound this week.
Yeah, we both didn't do so well, but I'll give a shout out to Dave Koken, who did catch Neiman on the outrights. I think he got him at 50-1. So congrats there, Dave, and any of his followers. But listen, we're all one big family. All we're trying to do is give you guys some golf winners wherever it comes from. Hopefully we can deliver week in and week out, and we'll try again this week. Before we get into this week's show, I want to talk to you guys about a promo for this week's tournament pack. Honda 20 takes $20 off the tournament pack for either Andy or myself. Normally priced at $39, you can grab it for just $19. It'll include all 4 days of coverage. So head over to WagerTalk.com, either myself or Andy's page to check that out. All right, as always, let's start right here with we already mentioned how bad last week was, but let's start with the last week's best bets and worst bets of the week. Andy, I'll go to you first. We know some best bets or some worst bets. We both had several of those. What was your best bet from last week?
My best bet was round 3. We took Paul Casey over Abraham Answer, and it's one of those where Paul Casey plays good and Abraham Answer drains like a 17-footer for birdie off the first hole. It's like, okay, here we go. I know where this ends. But Paul Casey played great. He was 1 shot off of the best round for the day. So it was nerve-wracking watching Casey and Answer go back and forth. But the stats said that Answer wasn't going to keep up his putting stats, and he didn't in that round. Casey pulls ahead at the end, and we cashed that one. Worst bet, I mean, DJ, I had him top 20. He couldn't putt. He lipped out and burned the hole on just about everything under 8 feet. It was getting under his skin, and then just to tease us, when he's like, 5 or 6 over, he birdies like 3 holes in a row on the back 9 on Friday. He misses the cut, and he wasn't in it from the very beginning. I mean, that bet was dead in the water. It was just an outlier performance. I'm not mad at the bet because the history and the stats told you he should have been good, but sometimes the putter's not working, and it smoked me. That was a terrible bet.
I feel like with some of those big names, Koepka is a good example. They get off to a slow start. They just check out, man. They just and it's over. You can see it. And yeah, DJ was definitely that way. So I feel for you there. My best bet, very easy. I only had 1 winner last week, so that was Hovland to finish the top Scandinavian, which was against Norlander and Noren. So pretty easy cash on that one. Worst bet was, let's see, my matchups, didn't win any of those. My outrights, didn't win those. Leaderboard bets, didn't win those. So Yeah.
I'm with you.
Hopefully
It was a bad week. I'm with you. I feel so bad hearing you go through that and me go through it. I'm with you, man. I feel
Listen,
for you.
we both know the beauty and the frustration with golf betting can be these ebbs and flows, and it was down. I was on a high just 2 weeks ago, winning with cash and hogue. So hopefully get back right to it. One outright win, will keep you in the green for well over a month. So hopefully we can find another one this week. Let's take a quick look at the top 10 graphic from last week. I keep talking about the strokes gained and players going into the tournament to kind of, look at to start your guys that you want to circle heading in. This was the first time this year, so the sixth tournament, that we did not get a winner out of this top 10 graphic. Joaquin Niemann was ranked down in the 27th, I believe it was, 27 and 42nd, respectively, in strokes gained tee to green and strokes gained approach. So he was not in the graphic. However, this graphic is littered with guys that were still there. You got Rory, Xander, JT all in the top 15, and then you got everybody else finishing tied for 33rd. Weird anomaly there. Every single player on that graphic is tied for 33rd, and then only one miscut. So even though they didn't get the winners, it's usually a good place still to start for guys that you expect to have, at least a decent week. This week, we're going to take a look at the graphic for the Honda. The top 10 heading into this week is leading that pack, none other than Daniel Berger, a plus 1.89 strokes gained per round. This is tee to green heading into the Honda Classic. And then you can see the list. We got Sungjai, Niemann, of course, who was not on the graphic last week, but one strong performance where he gained a shit ton of strokes tee to green last week. He is now in the top 10 for over the last 6 months. And again, this is the top 10 of this field. If you had the top 10 of all the players in the world, he's probably not in it. But in this field, he is. Oosthuizen, Hogard, who we'll talk about a little bit later. Most people won't know his name. Lowry, Vegas, Fowler, Fleetwood, and Mitchell. So hardly a leaderboard to get really that excited about. None of the top 10 in the world are in the field this week. So it'll be a challenge to figure out the outrights, that's for sure, because it could be anybody's game. But let's talk a little bit about the field, a little bit about this tournament in particular this week. Andy, I always start with you. What do you got to tell everyone?
Well, traditionally, it's a very difficult course. Believe toughest non-major course in 6 out of the last 9 years. We have the brutal 3-hole stretch at the end. I'll let you talk about that. We have a lot of water hazards, which catches people up, and they've lengthened it. So, there's a prop out. Will there be a hole-in-one? And there's actually, I think there's been a hole-in-one in 3 straight years on the 17th, but they've lengthened that hole 40 yards this year. That's not a pitching wedge like 150 anymore. It's 190 yards. So they're trying to make this course even more difficult. The bunkers are difficult. If you're going to succeed here, you're probably going to have a good week coming out of the bunkers. The nice thing, though, for the players is it does not look like the wind is going to be that big of a factor. It looks like 15 miles an hour. If there's wind at this course, you can say that about any course. If there's wind, it's tough. But this one in particular, with all the water hazards, doesn't look like wind is going to be too big of a deal. But you got to be accurate off the tee. You cannot be spraying balls into the water because there's so much water, many water hazards around here. And then the other thing is the field is so different. We talked to, like the waste management talk, a big name is probably going to win. This is a great week for long shots. Yep. This is your time to fire away at some 60, 70, and 80s. I mean, Matt Jones is your defending champ. You got Keith Mitchell has won this tournament. Michael Thompson has won this tournament. So this is, if you like playing the long shots, this is a really good week to do that. I'm going to be looking at some of these around the green categories and strokes gained, and also going to be looking at accuracy off the tee. So that's my take for this week on this course.
Yeah, I don't know any of those names you just mentioned because you're right, they're all long shots. I think Mitchell was 250 to 1 when he won it 3 years ago now. So you're right. This is a great time to look down the leaderboard or the odds board rather for outright plays or even match plays. This is the beginning of the Florida swing. The West Coast swing is over. I thought last week was going to be the highest winning score of 2022, but Riviera in general played a little easier than it historically does. But all signs this week, as always, point to a tough Honda. Since 2007, when the Honda moved to the PGA National, the winning score has reached double digits just 4 times. So it's 15 events here. Only 4 times has a winner reached double digits, so pretty tough. You mentioned the bear trap at the end, holes 15, 16, and 17. if you play those at even par, you're likely in contention come Sunday. As I was doing my research, a great stat I saw is that according to ShotLink, since the course or the tournament moved here in 2007, there's been 600 players that have played the Honda Classic. 88% of them are over par on the bear trap in their career. So just shows how hard that stretch of holes is. You already mentioned bunkers and water everywhere. Wind can and usually is a factor here. It is 50-mile-an-hour range all week. There are some gusts forecasted that can get up, but you never know. They're going to hang around. But 10-15 is more than at least what they've been dealing with in the West Coast. So it'll be at least a change for most of these guys. The last thing I'll mention is par threes here, very difficult. They ranked as the third hardest and second hardest over the last 2 years. And of course, you can't put everything into a stat like that, but might be worth heading over to like PGAtour.com. You can check out scoring stats, and then you can go down to like par threes and who's done well. And you'll find Billy Horschel, Florida native, leading that statistic this year with a minimum of at least 20 rounds played. So just some interesting fun facts for the week. So we'll get into a little bit about some plays I like, some suggestions Andy has to avoid, and I know he's got a DraftKings lineup he definitely wants to talk about. I'll go first. We mentioned not necessarily looking at the top of the odds board, and I 100% agree with that. The only guy I do lean towards in there is Keith Mitchell this week. He is 35-1, so not quite as good a value 3 years ago when he got him at 250-1. But I will say he's arguably playing some of the best golf of his career. So far, 4 starts in 2022. He did miss the cut at Torrey, but he finished tied for 7th, tied for 12th, and tied for 10th in his other 3 starts this year. And he took last week off at Riviera, giving him a little extra rest. He also fits the mold with par 3 scoring. He's tied for 20th this year with a pretty big sample size, 34 rounds played, because he played quite a bit in the fall. So this is the best stretch of golf that he's ever played. He obviously has history here winning it before, but I don't like a lot of the guys low on the odds board. He was the one that I thought presented at least somewhat of value. Andy, you want to talk a little bit about guys you're not going to be playing this week?
Yeah, I just called this players that can trip you up this week. This could be with daily fantasy, seasonal fantasy leagues, bets. I'll start with Brooks Koepka. We talked about this. You mentioned it. Guys like Brooks Koepka, DJ, if they get off to a bad start. And I had completely forgotten that Brooks did an interview a couple of years ago where he actually said this. He said, if I don't get off to a good start, I don't care about the tournament because I only want to be in contention to win. He didn't have to worry about PGA Tour cards or, qualifying for next year. And you see this with his finishes. I mean, his last 3 finishes are miscut, third miscut. So I'm wondering if it's a good strategy. If he gets off to a bad start in first round, is this just to come back and fade him in round 2? And it almost qualifies here. His last 3 finishes here, miscut, second, miscut. So it's a pretty obvious trend with Koepka, and I just don't know how to attack Brooks from a betting perspective. I don't think there's anything you can do pre-tournament at this point. I think you're kind of probably looking at it as the tournament goes along. So I think he can trip you up. I'm also going to go with Tommy Fleetwood. We've all lost a lot of money on Tommy Fleetwood over the years. I think.
I want to say, how is Tommy Fleetwood at 16-1 at draft?
I don't know.
What is this guy? What has he done for me? I don't understand his odds this week, but I'm sorry. Keep going. I agree.
He's got the haircut and he's got a cool nickname, Fairway Jesus, and I swear that is what. And so Fleetwood, it's like when he's in Europe, you bet on him. When he's over in the U.S., you bet against him. And here we go. He's got a couple decent finishes over in Europe, but now he's coming over here. But the strange part is he's finished 4th and 3rd here, the 2 times he's played here. So I wouldn't get near Tommy Fleetwood in any bets. And then my last guy is Aaron Wise. I bring up Aaron Wise because if you're looking at stats, he's played good here. He's played here 3 times, and he had a 13th place finish last year, 35th and 33rd the year before. He's in terrible form right now, though. Miscut, and 67th. So if you're a fan of like horse for the course, you're probably looking at Aaron Wise and going, oh, well, this is a guy that plays good here. But the stats in his recent form do not suggest that he will have a good finish. So I would tread carefully with Aaron Wise, especially he's got some longer odds, 60-1 to win. And, he's only 8,400 in DraftKings for daily fantasy. But I think that's a guy that could cause you some problems if you depend on him.
I like Aaron Wise this week. So there you go.
Go for it.
But don't listen to me. What did I get right last week? Nothing. So yeah, that's all good info there. I definitely agree on Koepka and Fleetwood. I just happen to have a little bit of a soft spot for Wise this week. I'm sure I'll text you on Friday night and be like, "Yep, you were right." Next play, I'll mention another outright I'm looking at. This time I will go a little further down the odds board, and we're going to look at Denny McCarthy, who is a name I really haven't circled or looked at much over the last year, to be honest. He's 65-1 this week. He usually does a lot of his damage in the fall swing when fields are weak, but he has carried that form over into 2022 so far. He did miss the cut in his last start, which was the Waste Management Phoenix Open 2 weeks ago, but he also finished tied for 12th at Pebble and tied for 6th at the American Express in his 2 other starts. A couple numbers that look good for McCarthy this week is he ranks 13th in driving accuracy while only 169th in distance. Distance is not going to be important this week, but finding the fairway, avoiding all those bunkers in that water is clearly going to be a big advantage. He's also one of the best putters on tour. In fact, he ranked as the best putter in both 2019 and 22, according to strokes gain data. He finished 22nd last year, and he's right back in line with that again this year at 16th strokes gain putting. So he's always a threat on the green. If he's just hitting the ball accurate and hitting greens, he'll have a chance to at least be in contention come Sunday. He boasts the 10th best scoring average so far this year and already has 6 top 20s. So he's 65-1 in the outright, or even at 6-1 for a top 10 this week. So I think he has some decent value to perhaps be in the contention of Sunday, or to play guys similarly priced to him in matchups this week. Andy, we'll go back to you. DraftKings Darlings. I do love the name of this segment that you do. Who are you looking at this week for daily fantasy?
Well, if you want to make money on playing daily fantasy, you've got to get some of these lower priced guys correct, and you got to get them in your lineup. So I'll be doing this every week. This is also in the article that Nick and I write every week. So let's go over 3 guys that I think you can find some real value. I'll start with Nick Watney. Fun fact, when you type this into Microsoft Word, it auto-corrects it to Nick Wanted. So Nick Watney is 6,600, and this is a weak field. We brought it up. He's made the cut 6 straight times at this course, and he made the cut in 2 out of 3 weeks in 2022. Not a sexy name, but you want a guy at 6,600 that can make the cut and get you some points on the weekend. He's a guy you can go with. Harry Higgs. We've seen a lot of Harry Higgs. Literally, we've seen a lot of Harry Higgs at the Waste Management. He's only 6,700, but, aside from that, he's made the cut in 3 out of his last 4 tournaments. He's only played here twice, but he finished 58th in 2020 and 19th in 2021. These are the kind of guys we're looking for. And last one, Matthew Neesmith. He's only 6,900. He's made the cut 3 out of his last 4, and he's finished 36th and 38th the past 2 years in his only 2 appearances. So, Watney, Higgs, and Neesmith, these are not guys that you're accustomed to putting in your lineups. When you got a weak field, some of these guys can do some damage, and these are the guys that are going to allow you to have some extra money in your lineup. So you can put a Sung Jae Im in, or, you can put a Berger if you believe in that. So can I tell my DraftKings story from 2018? Okay. So it's 2018. This is when DraftKings is doing, if you remember back then, insane specials and promos at this time. So my buddy texted me and he said they got this crazy $300 daily fantasy. Only 25 people can enter. Winner takes all. The winner gets a trip to Vegas, 2 free rounds of golf, hotels, meals, and a meet and greet with Tiger Woods. All right.
What?
And it's only 3. Yes. This is so those who have followed me for a while already know this story. So we enter it. So for $300, and there's no prize money. It's just winner wins this. Everyone else loses. So my buddy and I go all in, and we are crushing, except we have Patrick Reed, who misses the cut by 1 shot when he takes a triple bogey on a par 3. but we're still in first place because our other picks are just insanely good. And we're only being chased by one guy. He's got all of his guys through to the weekend. And Tommy effing Fleetwood hits a 140-yard eagle, and then on the 18th hole hits an 8-foot birdie putt to leapfrog us. We finished second on a Tommy Fleetwood 8-foot birdie putt, and we were this close to spending $300 and getting a weekend in Vegas with a meet and greet with Tiger Woods. Free rounds of golf, hotel, meals, everything included. And this is why I will hate Tommy Fleetwood with every fiber of my being. That was in 2018. That was when he finished fourth.
Effing fairway Jesus, man. Unbelievable. I want to know, I wonder if I'm skeptical about that meet and greet with Tiger Woods. Do you think that actually happens?
I mean, if it didn't, who cares? It's a story. You get a free trip out to Vegas, you know?
I would just tell people it did.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, he was a great guy. Yeah. So that's my DraftKings story.
I like it. That's a good story for sure. I'll remember that next time I want to bet on Fleetwood. I'll avoid him just out of respect to you, Andy. Do you like that? Unbelievable. I'll go back to one more best bet for me for this week is a leaderboard, or not a leaderboard, excuse me, a make or miss cut prop. And that's young Nikolai Hogard. I mentioned him in the strokes gained graphic that we looked at the beginning of the show. Not a name most people are going to know, but there's a lot of talk around him right now, rightfully so. He's 20 years old. He's shown a lot of talent already. He's got actually 2 wins on the DP World Tour, which is formerly the European Tour. However, he is lacking consistency, seems to be struggling on some of the tougher venues. He's got an even more black and white record than Brooks Koepka does. His last 4 starts are miscut, win, miscut. So it's all or nothing for this guy. So either bet him to miscut or bet him for the outright. And I think the former, which is the miscut, seems a little bit more likely this week. He missed the cut at Abu Dhabi and Dubai, where the winning scores were -10 and -12. One of the events he won was -24, so clearly much easier course. Again, 10 or 12 range is likely a target score for this week as well. Throw in the fact that this is his first PGA Tour start, and it just adds another layer of pressure. So you can get him to miss the cut right now at +150. I think he'll be a name we'll talk about as the weeks, months, and years go on. But for this week, I'm going to avoid him. I would, you go back to even Tiger Woods. Even Tiger Woods isn't making the weekend on his first start, so I'm not going to bet this guy either. So, Andy, you had what else? Did you have any other information you want to throw out at the viewers this week?
Yeah, I'll do one. I can't believe you're getting +150 on that. What an odd event to come up. What an odd event to come over from the European style courses and then play this one as your PGA Tour debut. This is not like any European course. It's a really bizarre one with
exact opposite of any European course.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll do a head-to-head. This is a best bet for the show. We're going to do Zach Johnson over Ricky Fowler. We're just going to fade Tricky Ricky here. He's been bad for a while. Interesting matchup with Zach Johnson. Zach's in the twilight of his career, but listen, he's made the cut in 4 out of 5 tournaments. Had a 14th at the American Express. He's made the cut here the last 4 times he's played here. Finished 8th last year. Fowler's missed the cut in 3 out of 4 tourneys. Finished 55th last week. He's finished 65th and missed cut the last 2 years here. They do have similar stats in some of the strokes gained categories, but Johnson, huge advantage in putting. He's 46th this season. Fowler's 205th. So if Fowler's not getting it done on the greens, I would expect the miscut. And Zach could be flirting with a miscut here. So I wouldn't expect to see Ricky here on the weekend. So it's a sneaky little one because Zach doesn't jump off the page as a guy you want to bet on, but you get the right matchup, and I'll take it.
ZJ's got a green jacket, man. Love that guy. He's I like that bet. Fowler did have one. I forget what week it was. He did have one week where he actually showed up so far this year. I don't remember what that was. You never know, but I do like ZJ this week as well. Want to remind all the listeners that Andy mentioned before, We do have a article that we write on the WagerTalk news page every week for the tournament, full of stats, course and field information, some of our best bets. So definitely check that out. Definitely worth a read. We put a lot of time and energy into that one. So if you want more golf information, head over to WagerTalk news page. You can find that there. Before we end the show, Andy, do you want to talk a quick something on the Saudi league that's never going to happen now that it seems every single player that was rumored to be going there has backed out?
It's pertinent. I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it. So I guess I wonder how close did this go to happen? I mean, I'd like to ask your thoughts because you told me never going to happen. I thought this was really close. So how close did it really happen is my first question to you. Second question is, what in the world happened behind the scenes that we'll never hear about? Because I feel like this could be a 30 for 30 type of story of how close they were to, breaking away. And then who looks worse, Greg Norman, Phil Mickelson, or Bryson DeChambeau? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I never gave it much of a chance to really get off the ground. I mean, yeah, listen, you throw around numbers like they were throwing around in the beginning, and everybody's going to stop and at least kind of give it a thought. But in today's world, where your actions are judged by every single person that has the internet, and you just imagine the backlash of any single person that decided to do this. It would be instantly, you instantly lose your fans. You instantly lose. I mean, there's very few people that would actually like you after you do this. And sponsors. For some people that were like the hated guys, yeah, the sponsors they're gone. Everybody's gone. So what good is it really doing you? You're getting, obviously the money, but you're losing a lot more, I think, in the long run than you are gaining. And however, I don't know what the contracts were. I'm not sure how many years they were for, but whatever short-term gain there was, I think there was a lot more to lose long-term. Plus all the glory of, if you're going into that, and I know some of the bigger names are, the glory of the PGA Tour as far as majors and history and, golf World Hall of Fame, that kind of stuff would be all thrown out the window. So some of the best names, I mean, to me, there was no choice. They had to stick around. And if this gives them, like Phil keeps saying, this was leverage play, blah, 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 which, he's a whole other story. But if that was true in any sort of respect, then fine. It's fine to entertain the idea, but that's why I never gave it any real chance of getting off the ground.
Who looks worse? Come on, name it. Who looks worse?
It's Phil. I mean, it's Phil. There's no doubt. Everybody's even though their players are just trash talking them on social media. So yeah, it's Phil.
I did see a funny post was when it was pretty obvious it was over and those players were getting those comments. It was like, and Greg Norman yet again falls apart on a Sunday. It was just so brutal.
He did lose a lot of tournaments on Sunday.
Yeah. I got to say, I applaud the effort for trying something innovative. I'm never going to bang on somebody for trying something different and exploring options. But why you would get in bed with that group of people is a little bit disturbing and a little bit confusing. So I'm glad they made the decision. I did not want to see like these competing tours that would throw the entire sport. But hopefully Phil's right that they used some leverage and they got some better things out of it. I mean, the PGA Tour, let's face it, they have a golf channel and they don't even show their own tournament on their own network, which is a problem. So if they can make strides to improve the sport for the fans and the players, it's a good thing.
If there are any soccer fans listening, this exact same scenario happened last year with the Super League. So, it was all the biggest names in the world. I mean, the backlash that was online was just instant. So that thing collapsed before it ever got off the ground. This was also never had a chance. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this week's show. Another reminder of the promo code we have going on for this week. Andy or myself both have our tournament packs up on our page at WagerTalk.com. You can get this week's tournament pack for $20 off. So normally priced at $39. Grab it for just $19. Definitely a good deal. All 4 days of coverage, matchups, leaderboards, outrights, DraftKings. We have a little bit of all that in there. So make sure over WagerTalk.com to check that out. Remember to hit the like button for us. Andy gets paid on like hits, so he could use all the help he could get in that regard. And again, want to thank everybody for tuning in once again for another episode of Tea Time from Vegas. We will see you again next week.
Deja vu.